The Beavers suffered a setback in Strawberry Canyon, but got a Defensive Player of the Week performance from Manase Hungalu. Next up, it's trying to stop Khalil Tate in the explosive Arizona offense. Coach Corey Hall joins us for the next half hour to break it all down. Beavers Inside the Huddle starts now.
Everybody be a playmaker today. Let's go play, guys. Here we go. He goes toward the back of the end zone. Touchdown, Beavers!
Reser Stadium won't be the site of this week's game as the Beavs head down to the desert for a visit to Arizona. Arizona State will be the final home game for Oregon State. Welcome into the Beavers Inside the Huddle studio along with Steve Preece. I'm Dusty HARRAH'S. Steve, let's go back and revisit that Cal game and your keys from that game. How did the Beavs fare down at Memorial Stadium?
Well, they certainly didn't establish the run. 31 carries, 104 yards. Cal set up to stop the run, to really stop Ryan Nall. And what success Oregon State had came on things like you see on your screen, and that's the jet with Thomas Tyner cutting over. He's dangerous like this, and the Beavers have to continue to use that kind of run as long as teams gang up on Ryan Nall. Now, Nall made some great cuts. He also ran out of the Nall cat, did very well there, and the Beavs used the quarterback draw and did a lot of special things to get what they had. But the Beavers just didn't establish the run, and that was the whole ballgame.
And one of the things that we saw another week where the offense comes out, and they used early in the game a lot of creativity in formations, again, for the Beavs. And we're starting to see a lot of success with the formations that they use early in these football games.
Well, no question. The formations, the two-back, the motion. I love the fact that in situations where you move the back one direction, then bring him back the other, they actually faked the fly sweep and threw a swing pass this week, and it was very successful a couple of times. Quarterback draw was great. In fact, Daryl Garrettson is really capable of running. Now, the Beavs are a little bit afraid of that with their quarterback situation the way they are, but take a look at the creativity that came out of the triple formation. A former high school quarterback playing tight end for you. He can wing it, and Ryan Nall gets an easy touchdown. I think the Beavs have to stick with that, Dusty. They pulled off of it and went back to their standard old running game the rest of the game.
Yeah, and one of the things that we saw as the game progressed, Beavs get the first touchdown of the game. We saw that Ryan Nall score there. But as the game progressed, Cal drug them into deep water, and the Beavs responded. Namely, in that second or third quarter, about 2 minutes to go here, as you see when they finally punched it in, we saw some great offenses. That was the very first sack given up by Gus Lavaca all season long. And then something that we haven't seen the Beavs able to do, especially at the beginning of the year, bail themselves out of a hole that they were in.
Well, we haven't seen many passes like that in that second level. If Oregon State can get to that second level, if their line will protect and so forth, then they get an opportunity to do real good things, which are turning guys like Thomas Tyner loose to score, because the Beavers have some talent. They just need to get it going the right direction with the right formations.
All right, on the other side of the ball, we saw another week and some more injuries piling up for this Oregon State secondary. As you see right there, 3 key pieces. It's better than having 7 key pieces out, which we've seen at times for the Beavs. These are big blows to that secondary.
Well, you look at those 3 guys. They're number 1, 2, and 3 corners. Number 1 and 2 have been out for several weeks, and Sean Wilson, who's played really well in their absence, he's really done a good job. But it forces the Beavs to play defenses that they don't normally play, and they got great effort out of Key Wetzel, who came in there and gets a quick tackle for loss. He came in for Bright Abuego, who got a targeting foul, but Key was a real pleasant surprise. He's been playing all year as a redshirt freshman. Here you see a fumble. The ball's just sitting there, and that's on the 8-yard line, Dusty. That was a huge play because it stopped a touchdown, gave the Beavers a chance to really do something. But again, there was an opportunity, make a stop on the 8, and instead the Beavers go, I think they got 1 first down, and then they punted. They didn't take advantage of it.
Well, it kept them in the game, and they're inching furthermore with Corey Hall as the head coach, still looking for that first conference win on the season, though. We'll be joined by the Beavs head coach. Corey Hall sits down and joins us next. Beavers Inside the Huddle rolls on.
Protect the ball. I need that good evil. You know what I'm talking about? Make them quit. Hey, 4 quarters. Hey, bring it. Bring it.
Derrickson trying to strike up the field. It does. Wow, that's best throw for Oregon State in a while. Give it to Tyner on the fly sweep, and he's in for the Oregon State touchdown. Second pass coming to Knoll. He's there. And Knoll catches a floating dirigible pass for a touchdown. The Oregon State players wanted something to cling on to, some hope, and they've gotten that.
And welcome back in as we head down to Corvallis and talk to the man who's bringing the juice down in Corvallis, Corey Hall, the coach of the Beavs. Thanks for joining us, Coach. How are you doing this evening?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely. And but where we start, how about the overall thoughts on the performance of your team when you guys go down to Berkeley, set the tone early with putting the first points on the board and a fight all the way into the fourth quarter there? What did you think of your team's effort?
I mean, again, it just speaks to what I've seen and what they've put on display, you know, over the past 3 weeks. Is they are resilient and they got a lot of fight in them. You know, they're never down, they're never out, and they're having fun. They're passionate about football, just as passionate as I am, and I think it really comes through, you know, through their play and how hard they're battling. So I'm happy for them.
Coach, one guy who has been passionate all season, in fact, for all 4 years, is number 55 in the middle, Manasseh. 20 tackles last week, 4th most ever in Oregon State history, and 13 individual tackles. I mean, as you look, we're looking at the total tackles, and 22 is the most ever by an Oregon State Beaver, and to get 20 in a game like that with all the running, that's a lot of punishment, but a great effort by Manasseh. Talk about this guy's skill set, would you?
I mean, Manasseh is he's a great young athlete, and his upside is tremendous. And right now, he's one of the leaders on that defense. And, you know, it doesn't shock me or surprise me. Manasseh, he is, like I speak to him, I say he's a leader, okay? Speaking to his just quiet presence that he has and his work ethic, Manasseh has impressed me. I've watched Manasseh mature. I've watched him overcome certain hurdles that have been placed in front of him. And, you know, you watch these young student athletes, you watch them on the field, you watch them perform, and you watch them prepare. And, you know, Manasseh is he's one of those student athletes that he's going to give you his all. He's going to give you his best. And I think, you know, the 20 tackles in the game is kind of telling of who he is and his personality, not only as an athlete, but, you know, as a young man.
You know, as we're looking at that fight and that resilience that you're talking about, and in the third quarter of that game against Cal, your offense is taking the field down 23-13, and they put together a drive that is something we've seen in spurts, but together they finally put a scoring drive together where Gus Lavaca gives up his first sack of the entire season, which coming in game 9 is pretty impressive in its own right. And then you're in 2nd and 20, and Daryl Garrettson delivers a strike to Trayvon Bradford, and Thomas Tyner caps it off with a touchdown. At that point, to bring the game within 3, are you sitting there, and did your defense, as your coach, sitting there going, that's the momentum, that's the shot in the arm that we needed to kind of keep that thing close? And was that maybe a bright spot and a turning point for this offense this season?
Absolutely. I mean, anytime you watch an offense, you know, drive down, being a defensive-minded coach, it brings life, you know, to the whole team. And, you know, like you said, you spoke to it earlier, you've watched this offense just catch fire in spurts. And I think once we take the next step, you know, as a team, and we're playing like that with that type of cohesiveness, you know, on defense and offense. I mean, you look at the Stanford game, you know, defensive performance was high lit. And then, You watch Cal and you start to see our offense start to take off and do certain things. It is very reassuring, you know, and I'm pretty sure that the players, they feel it, they see it, you know, they're a part of it. And I know the defensive players, I know they feel good about it because, you know, when those things happen, you feel like you're never really out of a game. And that's true, right? Once, you know, we went up, I mean, they went up 23-20. Well, the natural thought in a defender's mind is we're going to go out there and we're going to hold them to, at best, the field goal. Well, and even if we do that, our offense is going to get back on the field and they're going to march down and they're going to score again because, again, it was a pretty nice drive. And even though they faced adversity, you know, on the 2nd and 20, it didn't matter. And that's the resolve. That's the resiliency that I mean about the entire team. And it shows up to where you can tell that it's not just lip service or something, some mantra that I've made up, or just, like I said, just being redundant. It is in fact true.
Coach, one of the monsters that nobody's made up are these targeting calls that have been so difficult. The last week to lose Kyle White, and then on what I would have called one of the best hits we've seen all season, and that was Bright Abuego when he takes his shot. That was a momentum changer that turned the opposite way. Explain to us what this call is and how did a situation like Bright's turn into such it didn't even look like anything but a great hit at the time.
I mean, yes, and I've answered these questions. Well, first off, I want to say that I understand that the rules are put in place to protect, excuse me, to protect the athletes. And, you know, although it couldn't have came at a worse time for us, it's a part of the game, you know, and, you know, Bright will learn from it. Hopefully, you know, other defensive players will learn from it. But at that point, you have a decision to make. Either you're going to harp on it and complain about it, or you're going to, again, the next man up mentality. You're going to pick up the flag and carry it. And that's what, you know, I mean, it speaks to what Key Wetzel did. Key Wetzel came in and he played rather well in lieu of that incident. And then losing Kyle was big, but then, you know, Omar had to step in at the corner position like we spoke about. But, you know, looking at the rules, they're a part of the game. And so what it creates is now you have to coach within the rules now. And when you coach within it, you have to evolve as a coach. And now you have to, you know, you have to practice a different way. Because if not, now, that doesn't mean you necessarily have to practice a different way, but you have to understand that there are going to be consequences to that. Now, do I think that it was a malicious or, you know, targeting? Again, when I played, again, everything was targeting. So quite different, you know. I mean, yes, I was targeting, you know, that's just what I did. But do I think that his intent was to hurt the offensive player? Absolutely not. But at the end of the day, that wasn't the call that was handed down, and I respect every call and decision that's made. Even if I don't say so, I do.
Well, as the coach, he doesn't have to like it. Or he has to like it. I don't have to like it. I don't like the call at all. We're just getting underway with Coach Corey Hall. As let's take a look forward, heading down to the desert and taking on the Arizona Wildcats. Beavers Inside the Huddle rolls on. Let's head back down to Corvallis, where we got Coach Corey Hall joining us.
Coach, you're playing against the guy this week, number 14 yes. for Arizona, Khalil Tate. In reading about him before the season, they said he was going to give some competition to the quarterback position, but it certainly didn't talk about a guy with over 1,000 yards. He's the leading quarterback rusher in Pac-12 history. You look at his statistics, it scares you, 155 a game. What can you do to slow this guy down and force him to throw so that you got a chance to win this on defense?
Hit him. Again, hit him at the mesh point, right? You know, I have my opinions, you know, about that, but there's no doubt that Khalil Tate is having a tremendous season, and rightfully so, man. This young student athlete has earned that. He's worked hard. He's put himself in a position to gain national recognition, and he doesn't fail to he never fails to disappoint. So one thing you have to do is you have to contain him. You know, I believe I said this about Bryce Love, you know, before Stanford. When you have explosive athletes going into games like this, I don't believe that you focus on one in particular, athlete in particular, but obviously you have to go out there and you have to stop the run, and he's a part of that run. So you have to stop Khalil Tate. But you can't forget about Nick Wilson, you know, as well. Again, there's 10 other guys out there, you know, with Khalil Tate, and if you just focus on him, then those other guys are subject to go off and beat you too. So although he is very explosive and he's a dual threat quarterback, we still have the game plan for the complete offense, and you know, just go out and make our plays. You know, we have to tackle, we have to be physical, and we have to execute.
All right, let's go from the defensive side of the ball to Steve's expert pick, brought to you by your local Carrier heating and air conditioning dealers. Carrier, turn to the dealers. It's on the offensive side for the Beavs.
Coach, I want to talk about the entire running back core. This week, it's so important to keep possession of the football, keep it away from Khalil Tate, but possess the football and do so many things with these three guys, with AP, with Ryan, and of course with Thomas. Talk about what you have to do offensively this week to win this football game.
Obviously, I mean, you said it. We have to control the time of possession. Okay, we're going to have to use those three running backs. We're going to have to run the ball, and we're going to have to keep that Arizona offense off the field. And, you know, also within that, third week. Also within that, you also have to be able to, put our quarterback in a position to be successful and make some plays with his feet and his arm. So, you know, this is no different than any other game for us offensively. Priority is time of possession, and you know that battle along with the physical battle. I mean, you have to win. You have to win the time of possession, right? You have to take care of the football. I believe we didn't turn the ball over last week at Cal either. You know, the offense did a great job of doing that, protecting the ball. But, you know, we control the clock, and, you know, we keep that explosive offense contained. And, again, just be physical, you know, on offense and defense.
All right, we get Coach Hall's keys to the game as Arizona is the destination for the Oregon State Beavers, Tucson. All right, there's the site for this weekend's contest as Oregon State hits the road for a night game in Tucson, as the Beavs have just 3 more games left on the schedule and 2 of them on the road. As we go back down to Corvallis and talk to Coach Corey Hall. All right, Coach, what are the keys to the game to beating the Wildcats down in the desert?
We have to win the field position battle, and we have to immobilize Khalil Tate. We got to slow him down. We can't let him be as explosive as he's been in the previous weeks, and we're going to have to control the time of possession. We're going to have to play great special teams, and most of all, we're going to have to be physical.
All right, Coach Hall, good luck to you and the Beavs as you travel down to Tucson and come back with the win.
Thank you. Go Beavs.
Go Beavs, Coach.
All right, we got you locked and loaded with all the Beavs coverage that you can handle here on NBC Sports Northwest. Go Beavs every Friday, 11 o'clock. Talking Beavs Tuesday, 7 o'clock. And then Beavers Inside the Huddle, Thursday, 9 p.m. right here on NBC Sports Northwest. All right, now it's time for the keys to the game, brought to you by your Northwest Honda dealer. Stop by your local Northwest Honda dealer or visit them online today at northwesthondadealers.com. All right, Steve, what do you got?
I feel like I'm just repeating what Coach said. Number one, you got to control Khalil Tate. I mean, that's the key on defense. He's the guy. Stop him. Make them do other things, even though they've got some other talent. On offense, you control possession, just what Coach said. I think you got to be out there 32, 35 minutes and do it well. Last but not least, something a bit different. Coach mentioned the quarterback, and I really believe that Darryl Garrettson's ready for a special game. And I think he's got it in him. He's been getting more comfortable week after week. This is a guy who started a lot of college football and a good quarterback.
I love those keys to the game. Mine are basically the exact same thing, so we don't even need to put mine up there. It is, you know, it's the same thing as what you just said. No turnovers, contain Khalil Tate, and then win third down. That's basically what it all comes down to in this football game. Great minds think alike, all three of us.
Well, I think this is a pretty obvious situation. This is a game where, as he said, Coach said at the end, be physical, beat people up. If you do that this week, you got a chance to win.
We'll be back Thursday, 9 p.m. to recap the trip to the desert and preview Arizona State coming into town to close up Reser Stadium for the last time this season.